When you look at higher interest rates, typically in a
Yeah.
in a market environment where prices are falling, there's three groups of buyers that benefit, right? There's your first home buyers, usually.
Yeah.
Makes it easier to get into the market, supposedly, with falling prices. Investors as well, because they're typically not spending large amounts of money compared to upgraders and other owner-occupiers. And there becomes, that creates opportunity for them. And thirdly, you've got your upgraders, because your transaction cost for upgraders is reduced in a falling market as opposed to a rising market. But when you've got rising interest rates, two of those groups really get knocked out. Like you said, the investors are getting knocked out because they really just don't have as much access to as much money. And first home buyers are really hit hard because probably of all the buyer groups, they're probably the most hardest hit in terms of borrowing capacity when interest rates fall, because they have the smallest amount of equity behind them. So you've got one segment of the market that really benefits from these market conditions, and they are your upgraders, right? And so you've got this incentive, if you want to call it that, coming into the marketplace at a time when the very segment of the market it's aimed at helping has one of the hardest hit, or probably the hardest hit from the actual prevailing market conditions. So it will be interesting to see if it does have a material impact or not, because you got to still say, well, if your borrowing capacity is impacted in any way negatively through this, even though you can get in the market quicker, for those buyers that or those borrowers that really sailing a bit close to the wind, I guess the big question is, how much will it really help them?
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenge with first home buyers right now is that borrowing capacities have fallen a lot more than the properties they really want to buy.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's a real, so when we're redoing the numbers, like for all our clients, like constantly, it's, and we're totally fine with that. And we actually encourage it. We really want it. I mean, even today, I got a client call me. I think about buying, right, let me just double check the numbers because, it's been a few months. And, and if you don't buy now, another rate rise, this is how it affects you and this is how your repayments are going to be. And so it's like a lot of guidance and coaching around borrowing capacities because they've just fallen so much.
Yeah.
But the reality is, they might have want to buy something, I don't know, 1.4, let's call it, and their borrowing capacity, that's their maximum, has dropped, and now they have to buy at 1.2. Well, the $1.4 million property's only dropped to 1.3. They're being pushed out of that market. And, they're having to literally make offers that are at the absolute, maximum and, with very little buffers. So they're under a little bit of, to get into the markets they really want to be. And so I think that's the irony at the moment. You're right. First home buyers are struggling, but there are the first home buyers that are doing really well financially from an income point of view, let's call it, and are borrowing well within their borrowing capacity and what they could borrow in previous last year. So they're the ones who are, I guess, doing really well.